our special guest today, Jody Bodenhammer from the Rappel Diabetes Learning Center. Jody, you've brought some different items with you today. What are these that you've brought with you?
I did. I brought some goodies today. These are some of our glucometers that we offer to our patients to check their blood sugar. So these are all different monitors and different, obviously different colors and different choices here. And I just brought a variety to kind of show folks some of the services that we offer. A lot of people are getting more and more specific with their needs and their insurance coverages these days. Those are really picking up and changing. I see patients almost weekly now coming in saying, you know, my insurance will cover me for this particular meter or this particular monitor. And so we really try hard to match up the person, not only their needs specifically for their glucometer, but then also help them figure out what's going to be covered, so that they have less out-of-pocket expense for the long term.
Do they pay for these?
These are actually offered free of charge.
Oh my goodness.
We get these donated to us through the Rappel Diabetes Learning Center, and then we're able to give them out to our patients.
Oh, how wonderful.
They do have a few samples in them, so that's really nice too for somebody who is newly diagnosed, that maybe went to Walmart or went somewhere else and just kind of got overwhelmed with the choices.
Saying, what do I need?
What do I need, or what's the difference in these different models? And we try to, you know, obviously there are some that are very high tech and real compatible with
this
computers.
This one says it speaks in 4 languages, and I'm thinking, okay.
That one does actually talk.
USB port for easy download. So you can track it like on a monthly basis, weekly, daily.
Almost every monitor has some sort of compatibility with the computer now.
Oh my goodness.
But also it is very basic in that the functioning and the working mechanism of each one of them is pretty simple. So most people, once they do it, they're at the office with us, are pretty comfortable. They can go home then and be able to monitor and then take that into their doctor on their visits for their diabetes.
Manual logbook. Okay.
And that one is really nice too. And like you said, it speaks. But it will, for folks that have vision impairment, they're not trying to get down here and look at these little numbers and figure out what it's saying. It guides them, audibly guides them, you know, what to do next. So
Technology is just unbelievable.
It's really great.
And it looks really small. I don't want to open it up here, but from the box it looks like a very, very small device.
It is, and all of them come with some sort of little carrying pouch or little bag, which is real nice too, because a lot of ladies will just, you know, put it down in their purse or whatever. And the guys can throw it in the glove box in the truck or wherever they're going with it as well. So it's not, you know, years ago they were big and bulky and sort of like cell phones. They just keep getting smaller and smaller.
There's a commercial someplace in one of the originators of the cell phone. Is carrying the first model, and it's enormous. It's, you know, it's like she's holding it with 2 hands. It's
And that's the case, you know, as far as the technology with these little guys here. We have about 65 models on the market here in this country, and we try to keep up with, obviously, some of the top ones, but we try to make sure that the ones that we give out are very accurate. They're meeting the standard requirements. A lot of the meters out there will meet very minimal requirements, and so you have to be careful. You don't want to buy into a system or a meter to where then you're getting some obscure results or not getting good blood sugar monitoring with that. It's very important, and one of the things I like to educate people on is take your meter with you when you get your labs drawn and do a comparison there that day, you know, just so that you know, hey, my meter is reading and reading correctly. And of course, these little guys are not going to be as accurate as our millions of dollars worth of equipment at the lab.
At the hospital.
Right. But they should be pretty close. They should usually be within 10 to 15 points, and no more, no less. So I tell folks, if you get a meter and you're questioning its accuracy, take it in and get it checked. Take it in with you when you get your labs done.
Well, and then you could see why the insurance companies would want to identify specific brands. It does make sense. I had no idea there were 65 on the market. None.
Yes.
So.
And almost all of them take different equipment. They have the different testing strips and the different lancing devices, which is what we use to poke the finger with. And so you really, you can really get down to very specific pieces of equipment. And then also I like a lot of them have some interchangeable equipment as well, like the Lancets. Some of them are very versatile and you can use them on several different devices.
I was wondering if that was the case, because I thought, that could be like, it's real inexpensive to buy the meter, but all of the supplies that go with it are outrageous in cost.
That's where the cost comes in.
Sure.
And I really try to educate folks, when we're having our diabetes class especially, about, we've got to find not only what works for you, but also what's not going to cost you enormous amounts of money to try to keep up with this. Because I know a lot of patients of mine get frustrated when they can't get the supplies that they need. And that's one of the things I spend personally a lot of time on, trying to help patients get specifically to the pharmacy that is recommended, to the meter that's recommended. And sometimes it takes a lot of phone calls to get that one connection made for that patient. So that's just part of what we do and why we want to help folks. Diabetes is so expensive, and we know that.
I'd not realized it when you put it in that context. It absolutely is a very expensive disease.
And just basic, expense. Even we're not talking about major expenses like hospitalizations or problems. Just being up to par and trying to keep up with just the minimal
on a day-to-day
basis.
Well, insulin itself is probably very expensive, isn't it?
And that's another issue that we have a lot of times, and we try to help people with if there are trouble. Folks have a lot of issues with their insurance. There's the infamous donut hole now where we get into, we've spent up to a certain amount and now we don't have any coverage. So we try very hard to help those folks as well.
Which makes no sense. It's like, hello, insurance companies, this is not a disease that goes away. You're not going to take antibiotics and
it get better.
3 go-rounds, you're fine. So it's just not going to happen.
And it is. It's a challenge every day for me, and I appreciate that because it's something that keeps me going, keeps me getting up and coming to work.
Well, you're very, very passionate with what you do. So.
Well, and I have a lot of good help, and with our regular schedule and our classes and our programs and our support groups, we just have a great resource there with Rappel. So it's a blessing.
For somebody that might be tuning in that has never heard of the Rappel Diabetes Learning Center, would you do just a little brief synopsis? I can't talk today. It's very hard on a talk show when you can't talk. About what Rappel does. Like someone is newly diagnosed and they're told about the Rappel Diabetes Learning Center. They'd need a referral from their physician first of all.
Well, we do take walk-ins, obviously. Jan and I are available. We're at the office. Somebody's at the office Monday through Friday, so that's always nice to come in and get some help. And then also, if a person does want to have a class or want to sit down and have a one-on-one session, we operate very much like a clinic where we take a doctor's referral. We're able to then charge the insurance, so there's minimal to no cost to the patient for those classes.
Right.
And we really try to get down to the education that the patient needs. It may be about insulin. It may be about a monitor. It may be about food and nutrition. There are so many there's 7 self-care aspects of diabetes management. And so sometimes we cover all of those things. It just depends on the patient. And so certainly come on over. We're across from the emergency room entrance at the hospital there in the community support houses. And our normal operating hours are Monday through Friday from 9 to 4, but we can be reached certainly, and we are available sometimes outside those hours as well. I know Jan and I are pretty flexible about working with our folks. We even have kids, we have some.
I know you've got quite a few kids.
Some patients that have to go to school, and so we have to work around, and we try to be as flexible as we can with that. But just give us a call or come by. Our direct extension there at the Diabetes Center is 508-1765. And I just encourage anybody, especially if they're newly diagnosed, come over and let us help you, let us get you kind of acclimated to what's going on. And if you've had diabetes for a while and you're struggling, or you've seen some increases in your blood sugar numbers and you're not sure why, another great thing I think as a resource is we're able to offer some advanced classes, not just for beginners, but for folks that maybe have had and dealt with diabetes for several years. And that is, I get a lot of people that say, you know, I've been to 2 or 3 other classes, and it has to be the right time, it has to be the right situation. I'm really understanding now what's going on. And that's not us, that's the patient. That's the patient. They're ready to take that on, yes.
So, my goodness, all the things that you do there, and I'm thinking even, I know you have support groups, I'm thinking of even a situation that I know about where grandparents had their grandchildren coming, of which one was a diabetic, and had a, what do they call the insulin pumps?
Insulin pumps,
Insulin pump, and needed to have more understanding so that, that they knew what signs to look for if the child were in trouble, and so they wanted to get themselves educated. So you've got all that literature and resources at your fingertips there.
We have tons of free handouts, magazines, recipes. We haven't even talked about the cooking classes yet.
Oh, we got to get into those. We'll do that the second half of our hour. Yeah.
And so anybody, and we have all kinds of situations like that. I recently had a patient who had gotten remarried. His first wife had passed, and his new wife wasn't familiar with a diabetic diet. And so she came and got information, and she said, I really want to make sure that, you know, I keep him as healthy as I can. And I just thought that was so sweet and such a pleasure to get to help with a situation like that, because here they are, and they're working at it together, and she's so willing to help him.
And that's great, because you've got to have that, really have that partnership going, because food is so, nutrition is so crucial.
It's such a huge part. And when you have someone who's doing your cooking and your shopping, and matter of fact, we encourage our folks to bring either a support person or a family member or even a friend or a neighbor, so that they can get that extra support.
Right.
And the other thing I think that's really a great aspect or support is our regularly scheduled support group. And so we try to keep that going. A lot of people don't know we have a type 2 diabetes support group and a type 1 right here in Mountain Home, and we meet on a regular basis. So.
All right, and we're going to come back and talk more about that after we take a short break. Don't go away. We'll be right back.